Sullivan. It's very cute.
Oh,
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm a little disheveled. I just came in. Welcome to what are we doing? Untethered Talk with Robin Thomas at 2:00. COVID brain.
it's
This is worst. That's the worst
yes,
part of COVID brain. Like
it really is one of the worst parts.
Stupidest mistakes. Like what? Oh yeah. Robin, how are you?
I am good.
You are good.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I had a really awesome. I had a really an intriguing conversation with a whole bunch of women this morning. We met for coffee, and two of them are like dear friends that I talk to constantly, really. And two others are like colleagues that I really respect and admire. So it was the five of us that met for coffee, or for me it was tea. But we sat at a place, and it was delightful, and the conversation was like we wended down some intriguing paths. And I left, and I was feeling a little like out of sorts, and I haven't quite put my finger on why that was. But one of the friends who was there, I sort of reality checked. I was like, what did I miss? And she was like, actually nothing. So she just asked me a whole bunch of powerful questions to allow me to sit in some stuff that I'm just like, huh.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, because I sort of felt like, I don't know, I left there and I felt a little like, it was like almost bereft, and I couldn't figure out why. So I was trying to
like because it came to an end?
I don't actually think it was. I was trying to figure that out, and I'm not sure. Maybe I just wasn't ready for it to be done. I'm not sure. So I'm sitting with it. So I haven't quite come to the bottom of it yet, but I'm sitting in it.
I'll be interested later on if you want to share.
I totally will.
Awesome. All right. So last week we discussed boundaries a little bit, and we mentioned that this week we wanted to do a show on self-love and boundaries. Now, not only is that a brilliant idea, I also think that we should do, and we were just mentioning this, I think it's going to be great that we're going to do a series on self-love. And that is I'm going to sneeze.
God bless you.
You can go ahead and talk about this because I'm going to wait for the sneeze.
A series on self-love. So in the days leading up to your wedding, to yourself, which is a commitment to self-love. So we had just talked about possibly doing a series of ideas about what self-love may look like or feel like, or how that would what that would look like.
I think it's really great also because not only is it going up to my wedding, but it's Valentine's Day now too.
Absolutely.
Did you say that? Because I may.
You said Valentine's Day. I didn't.
You didn't. I know. Okay. All right. I just COVID'd that out. Yeah. No. Not that I am into the hallmarkness, but celebrating love isn't a bad thing.
I actually am into the hallmarkness. Like, my knight loves the romance and loves all the I love romantic gestures. I'm such a romantic fool that I love Valentine's Day. I have always loved Valentine's Day, and now I've been single for like ever. And I don't have any designs to be in a partnership, but I love Valentine's Day. I just love the whole idea of it, and I just love everything. I really love romantic, chivalrous. I just love it. I really love romance. My favorite movies are romance movies.
Aw. I didn't know that about you. That's awesome.
I am a diehard romantic, actually.
That is awesome. That's awesome. I guess for me, it's like just like any other holiday, right? The capitalization on it, and not focusing on the meaning, which is. But yeah, I mean, I have to admit, like you've got the damsel in me really loves.
Exactly. That's a damsel and a knight and a princess. Prince. We are bred for romance. That's actually part of our nature.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. We'll have to do a thing on you know the word that I'm thinking of.
We'll have to do a thing on romance.
Archetypes. Like, there's a word and I'm not going to come up with it. You're going to have to figure it out.
I will do my best. I will get there.
All right. So self-love and boundaries. Shall we define both of these things before we go on, so we all know what we're talking about?
I think that's probably a good idea. What is your definition of self-love?
Oh boy. Self-love is it comes from respecting yourself. Like, to me, that's the first step. Like, you have to respect yourself, and that comes from, honestly, I think a lot of it comes from keeping your promises, um and being able to achieve the goals, and not like achieve goals, but like, I got out of bed today.
Right.
Awesome. Right.
Yes.
Go me. Like, for me, what something that shows myself self-love is when I take care of my skin. Like, if I'm depressed, I'm not doing anything. But when I start to like go out and buy little creams and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm taking care of myself. But I don't a definition of self-love. Um, Not allowing anything to make you not love yourself. I don't know how
All
well I
right.
answered there, but
Okay. Okay, you're on there. I wonder if it's possible to define it without the knots. Like
mm,
it's like what you
never
don't want versus
disrespect
what you want.
yourself.
Yeah, true. Yep.
Never. Well, so that's never. Wait a second. That's a never thing. Always.
Well, I think anytime you get into a never or an always thing, now
Mhm.
you're running into rules and vows,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you can't always do it.
No. Yeah. No. You don't want to ever go to the extremes. Anyway,
Well, you maybe want to go to the extremes, Jack.
it depends. It depends on what extreme we're talking about. Yes, I love extremes. I do. I feel they're a part of my nature,
Yeah,
and I enjoy them. It's life,
it
right?
is. Well, yes, yes, yes. Especially for some of us with big energy, it's always there always is a little bit of bigger, the roller coaster is a little bit bigger.
Mhm.
And what I found is finding the temperance in that extreme energy. That's where my work has been for the past several years, is like I have the potential for big swells, but I also recognize that it's not always great for me to do that.
Right. No, it's true. It is
It's
true.
not bad. It's just like there are sometimes the highs are sometimes high and the lows are too
Too
low,
low.
that like it gets it gets exhausting sometimes.
Oh yeah. That is true. It is exhausting to be me. It's a very tiring process.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all
So
right.
self-love,
Yeah.
uh, being conscious of, I don't know. You're gonna have to help me out here.
Well, I guess why I asked your definition, Jenna, because I mean I have my definition, but I think everybody maybe wants to have their own definition of what self-love is, right? I mean, for me, self-love is the concept that I've never been wrong, and I don't mean wrong like I made a mistake, I'm sorry. I mean that there's nothing about me that has ever been wrong, right? So
Right.
it's that fierceness of my self-love is fierce, is like nothing gets to take precedence over my compassion and affection for myself. So like I don't beat myself up for past decisions anymore, or well, I try really hard not to beat myself up for past decisions anymore. And when it comes up, that's when I have like the infinite compassion for that person who I was. It means taking really care with who gets access to my energy, and taking
Mhm.
um real pains to make sure that the voice in my head is a kind one. And when
Mm.
it is, and when it isn't a kind one, doing the work until it gets to that place, because for me self-love is that compassion of like I'm 100% okay, and I've never not been 100% okay.
It's very active.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean, my coaching program is Fierce Happy Women. I mean, it's ultimately going to be Fierce Happy People or the Fierce Happiness Institute, but it's Fierce Happy Women because there's a level of like, if you're fierce, you're unwavering or unapologetic. And I talk about that. I use that term like unapologetically loving myself.
I love, yeah, that's okay. You know what? We're going to talk about self-love and boundaries. I don't want to go off on too many tangents. Okay, so let's define what boundaries are in the sense of like human, not obviously not like country boundaries and stuff like that.
Well, I
Boundaries.
think I think boundaries are I think there's something to that. Even country boundaries or energetic boundaries, I think they share some similarities. But for when I talk about boundaries, I really do talk about my energy, my space, my bubble is sacrosanct. So I want to keep myself in it. I want to keep myself contained so I'm not going to have my energy and everybody else's energy if I can help it. That's the struggle for me. And also I'm not necessarily going to let other people's energy into my bubble. I mean, obviously I have intimate friends and lovers and like people that just like there's shared whatever, but even that, if there wasn't mutual love and respect, then I'm not letting them in. Right? So boundaries for me and self-love are they're the same.
Mm, there's no boundary between them.
Exactly. There's no space. See what you did there. That was funny.
That was great, right? That was a good one.
Yes.
Um, let's all call attention to how funny I am. Okay,
Uh,
so then how we were talking briefly about how one expresses self-love, and if boundaries are self-love, how do you create, like, how do you create them? How do you create boundaries?
I mean, again, if it's having a we can't have boundaries without a sense of self. If you don't have a sense of self, then you're going to have really weak boundaries.
Right. Sorry, I just got a spike of anxiety, but I'm good.
I saw that. What happened? What did we hit? That was so beautiful. What happened?
um I what was it? I think it was just like a train, like a lot of times something will set off a train of thoughts,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like but honestly, what was it? Oh, okay. I was just judging myself for calling that much attention to how funny I am.
Oh God, for Christ's okay, all right, this is perfect. This is amazing. All right, so this is perfect. Right, all right, great. So in that moment, it was funny, and you did it. It was totally perfect. It was perfectly Jen being Jen, and it was really adorable. Yes, it really was. It was totally Jen being Jen. It was adorable. It was delightful. And so it was past. It's in the past. Yes.
Yes.
Right. So if there's nothing wrong with you and you're 100% okay as is, then that like beautiful Jen being Jen moment is okay. And what happens is we look at those places where we're just completely ourselves and we're like, oh, that's not okay and that's wrong. And then we like pull back or pull in or like there's a energetic, oh, that's not okay, which creates anxiety because that was you just being you.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
Okay. See, now this is kind of, I don't want to go too far off, but with what it happens in my brain, I will take something small and make it really, really big. And even if logically, and by logically, I don't even mean like I think this, it's I don't know, but I think or I know that it's not a big deal, but I don't feel that's true. And even mentally, it
Right.
is a big deal. It's just that there's this little part of me up here on the surface that's like, that's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Well, because your brain is always lying to you. your brain is always lying to you. And your brain, Jen, is so imaginative that your brain, not only does it lie to you, it then creates an entire an entire like movie of this one thing. It takes it to this like it's like a Academy Award winning movie
That sounds so true. Like,
from this one little thing.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Which
yeah.
is so it's like your gremlin works like it just drops this tiny little pebble and you're like right?
It's so powerful.
Exactly. And your gremlin's like, look at what I just did. Like your gremlin just sits back and just like loves it because look at all this chaos I can create from this one tiny little pebble. I don't even have to work that hard.
I know, right? My grandma's great. They know
Oh,
exactly everything. Yeah,
yes.
anyway, so back to the boundary stuff.
Okay, but I think that's a really important moment, and it came up exactly perfectly because we can use it as a teachable moment. Because so in that moment when you get that like anxiety thought, you did stop it, right? You stopped the train, which
Yeah,
is that's how we start developing a healthy sense of self. That's how we develop self-love. That's how we start flexing the muscle of like that wasn't okay, right? So you stopped the energy of like you didn't create the movie, you just stopped it.
right. Opening
And
credits.
right, and you're like, no, actually that's not true. Like you like the next level of that is no thank you, right? That's a boundary that comes
Mm.
from self-love. It's
So
a boundary to your brain.
boundaries to yourself. So your boundaries aren't necessarily always with other people. You also have
No,
boundaries within yourself.
I think boundaries within yourself, I think that's where it starts.
Okay.
We teach the world energetically, we teach the world how to respond to us. It's only ever responding to what we are internally telling ourselves. There's nothing that happens outside of our energy field. Nothing happens outside of our energy field. So we're teaching the world how to respond to us.
That makes a lot of sense.
Eh,
Yeah, because I mean, like it's like if you go on stage and you think you look stupid, you look stupid.
right.
Right?
Exactly.
No matter what you're doing, you look stupid. If you do something really, really stupid on stage, but you're 100% committed to it, you don't look stupid.
Right. And people love it. And
Yeah.
it's that fourth wall that you get the energy from the audience, right? You can have a good performance or a bad performance based on what the fourth wall gives you.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they're responding to your energy and you're responding to theirs.
I
Exactly.
love it.
And when it's on, it's on. And when it's
Yes.
off, it's like,
Oh.
you know what they say about a bad rehearsal? Usually means a bad performance.
Right? Get that shit straight.
Right. But
Oh my God.
that's exactly that's kind of energetically the whole universe is just vibrating at different frequencies. And people are such energetic beings that like they're responding to your energy frequency. So like when you can stop those negative voices in your head and replace it or change it or just be like, oh, that was adorable that you just did this cute little adorable Jen thing, right? You start to be able to now have that sense of self that then allows other people to respect that.
Yep. That makes sense.
Right.
Okay. So energetic boundaries in yourself. So you're setting limits or just places you won't go?
I think both, yes. I mean, it's like just like what you just did. You felt anxiety. You felt anxiety about being too Jen,
Me.
right?
Yes.
Which is possibly something that you feel a great deal. Reasonable?
Yeah. You could say that's true.
All right. And so every the part of you that believes that who you are is too much, too big, too whatever, is still kind of running the show at this point. So you're not necessarily setting limits on it, But what you're saying is, hey, I see you, but I'm not necessarily going to listen to you right now. Or I see you, but no, thank you. So you're putting a boundary up. It's a stop sign, let's say, to
Mm-hmm.
the part of you that thinks who you are is too big and too much.
And that's really showing a lot of love for yourself.
That's infinite love for yourself.
See, now I think this is good because we're getting at you have this ethereal idea of boundaries and self-love, you know what I mean? But when you ask me to define it, I'm like, what? You know, like,
Right.
I'm marrying myself, isn't that enough?
And that's why I keep sort of kind of encouraging you to really think about what that means, right? Because what it means
Yeah.
is embracing the fact that there's a part of you that's going to just like make a comment about, look at how funny I am. Everybody thinks I'm so funny, and that's just you.
Yeah,
And
it is just me.
and it's completely okay. Right? So the minute you stop trying to make yourself smaller, fit in, be something you're not, all of your bigness gets to be okay. And then it's not too big and too much. It is because you judge it to be so.
Right. Right. Such a complicated thing in relationship with yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like on the one hand, that's totally how I feel. On the other hand, I'm like, fuck y'all. I'll be however I want to be.
But so that also is like, that also is the resistance. Like that also is, so there is that, like, you're not for you, you're against them.
Awesome. Awesome. We're learning a lot of good stuff here, aren't we, people? All right. That's awesome. Yeah. But I mean, like, just the idea that I'm getting it more, understanding it more, obviously, the idea of you being okay. And that's like, I'm okay and I love my okayness or whoever I am, you know, like
Yeah.
making yourself uh not making, but just being aware of when you stray from from loving yourself and finding the way to bring yourself back.
Absolutely. It's like and it's a and nowadays, now for me, this is like just micro adjustments, constantly all day long micro
Right.
adjustments, right?
But other
But at
people,
the beginning, at the beginning, it may have been put me on the moon. Like it really may have been so ridiculous to conceive of that I just was like, you're kidding me.
not
you,
possible.
you want me to do what? It took a lot. It took a long time of dedication and commitment and starting over again and allowing myself to be human. And it took
Right.
a long time.
I think that's a very important thing to point out as well. Like self-love doesn't just happen. You're not like, oh yeah, you know what? I totally should love myself. And you're like, oh, I do. No,
Yeah.
it's really. So why is that true?
Because we're trained. So most of us 35, 40, 50, 60, whenever we come to this awareness, we have 35 or 45 or 65 or whatever, how many years of being told that who we are is not okay. At first, it was people in our world when we were impressionable, and then it was society, and then it was the people that we've called to ourselves because we believed this story over and over and over again. So then we called these people to us who confirmed it over and over and over again, because that's how it works. Because we're
Yeah.
constantly saying, not this, not that, not this, right? So we're constantly bringing to us that which we don't want. And so it's been reinforced and reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. So there's actual neural pathways to support that. Yes, you suck, and this is why.
Yeah, they're like well worn.
It's our brains are wired to do it.
Mhm.
And so that's why I say your brain is lying to you all the time. So it's like not only are we changing energetically and emotionally how we feel about ourselves, we're going against everything that we've ever been taught to do so, and we're having to rewire our brain to get there.
Yeah. It's like a tough one.
It requires commitment and dedication and practice. I said to
Yes.
somebody the other day, it's a practice for a reason.
Right. Right. There's like, yeah. It's so true. Like, and you have to, yeah, you have to be willing. Like that I think is also part of people's issues with even trying, is because it is going to take a while and you do have to commit yourself. And, for me, and this is not exactly different, but the idea is there. For me, when I was sort of starting with learning stuff about spirituality in the sense of letting things go and surrender, that sort of thing. I'd listen to Michael Singer and he's like, "You're gonna practice every second of every day of your life." And I was like, "Oh."
Constant vigilance, yes.
And then like, so like, no, you know what, every day I can have like 4 or 5 hours where I just play, and then I don't have to worry about being surrendering and all this stuff. And then it went on and on, and I got more into it. Like I understood it more fully. And of course I still don't understand it as fully as I will tomorrow or the day I die. But that's the thing, is like when I started understanding it more and realizing being in the moment is really the answer to just about everything,
Uh-huh.
um, that it became an attractive thing to me to be trying to do it all the time. You know what I mean? Because I do live in my head. I did live in my head. I do live in my head. You know what I mean? When I like to think my thoughts.
Right. Most of us do. Most of us are attracted to them and addicted to them. And it's what we've gotten, what we know, what we know. It's familiar. It's comfortable. It is
Yes,
comfortable. Even if
it's
it's
comfortable.
uncomfortable,
Yeah,
it's familiar and comfortable because it's what we know.
right,
Right.
right,
It's terrifying. It's terrifying to go out of your comfort zone. It's even more terrifying to go out of your comfort zone when your ego or your gremlin or the mind thinks it's going to die to do that.
right.
And it does.
Yeah, it's like, and your psyche does die.
Well,
That's
your
what.
ego there's an ego death that sort of happens. Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be. There has to be, which is great, because you know what? Your ego screws you up all the time.
I think the ego gets a bad rap. I think we can't be who we are without an ego. Like we don't have a sense of self without an ego. You can't actually have boundaries without an ego.
Right. Okay, right.
It's it can get it what we need to do though is understand that the ego is the servant of the heart and the soul. What we do is the ego is in charge, not the heart or the soul, and that's what gets us into trouble.
Right.
When the ego though is serving the heart and the soul, that's magic.
That makes sense. I hate being wrong. I hate it. I hate it. It makes me feel bad.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it.
So then really the discussion of self-love and boundaries is all about boundaries with yourself, because if you have boundaries with yourself, then you have boundaries with other people.
Absolutely. And if you don't have boundaries with yourself, you can't have boundaries with other people.
So what does having boundaries with other people look like?
Again, it means who gets access to your energy. It means who gets to be in your inner sanctum. It means who gets to be in your world. It means who gets to share your heart and your soul and your dreams. It means one of the women I was with today, she was talking about someone that she really likes and respects called her and asked her to do this thing for this fundraising thing. And she just was like, I would love to, but I can't.
Mm.
And she had to let go of people pleasing. She had to let go of that she really would like to like prove what a good mom she is and prove what a good like person she was and do this thing. And she had to she did so she said she texted and she had to put her phone away because she was like that, because otherwise I would be like, just kidding, what do you need? But
Right.
like she had to honor herself enough to say no to this thing that she didn't really want to do, but would have like pleased all of these parts of her need to please ego place.
Right. And it's someone she respects and would
Right.
want to please.
Exactly. And that's boundaries.
Okay.
Right. She said, I'm still kind of like, ugh, about it. So I still have to sit with it. And I was like, of course you are, because you set a boundary. You go against everything that you've been taught was okay. As a woman, as a mom, as a, right.
We can go there. Let's go there. Yeah. So, I mean, just before we go there, so that can come in so many different forms. For instance, for me, just the other day, like you say, I'm in boundary school.
Yeah.
The other day, someone was getting snippy with me, and instead of trying to fight that and trying to like assert, like, no, you're wrong, I was just like, okay, and I walked away.
Yes.
Usually do. Usually I'm like, no, why do you think that? No, that's not true. Like,
right. You want to leap and fix and rescue, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to leap and fix and rescue and make it okay.
Yes,
right? And you did none of those things.
Yes.
And you took yourself out of the energy.
Yes. Yes, that's what I did.
That's a boundary.
Can you hear that? You can probably hear that. That's great. Great. Hi, everybody.
I don't
you can't hear that? Okay. There's a really loud car alarm going out right outside my window.
It's not that bad.
Awesome. So yeah, so let's go into the boundaries we're not allowed to have as women.
That's a whole nother 45-minute conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole like 5 hour and then 2 days conversation.
That's my 6-month shadow course of what the boundaries we're not allowed to have as women.
Yeah, no, it's true. And that's a great course. That's helped me so much. And now I'm in the second round of it. The chakra class.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let's give a brief overview of what in general they are and why they're there, or why they're not there.
Well, I think so. Ingrained in our womanhood is that we're not as good, right? It is just inherent in that the feminine energy is less than. That's been 5,000 years and plus in the making. And the exile of the feminine and the Shekinah was exiled right about 5,000 years ago. And so the feminine energy has always been put down. So as women in society, we are mothers giving selfless, take of my heart and never I will ask for anything, like the Virgin, or we're not. And if we're not, the only alternative is Magdalene, is the whore, is the detritus, right? Like there's nothing, there's nothing else.
Yeah,
that's it. Like it's only now that's starting to change.
It really is only now. But also, I want to say Magdalena, she gets a bad rap too.
Of course she does. Of course she does.
She wasn't that proud. That was Pope Gregory.
Of course she was. That's what I'm saying. Like of course she was. She actually was the one who initiated Jesus into the mysteries. Like she actually was his partner.
She's actually amazing.
And Mary the Virgin was fucking fierce, right? These are bastardized stories that got told by men who thought, first of all, the world was flat and women were property.
Right.
Right. Women got written out of the story in about 300 AD. They got written out of the story.
Right. Yeah. 300. That's when they had the council.
Exactly. They got
Yeah.
written out of the story,
They're
and from then on, yeah. And that's just Christianity, right?
yeah.
But that's actually true across the. It's not necessarily a religious thing,
Mhm.
but because religion is so pervasive, because it's been so much in the culture, it
Right.
became a religious right.
It
It's
became a
now a
secular thing.
secular thing,
Yeah.
but right, it's now
Yeah.
just fact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like look like one need look only at any of the political anything going on in this country or any other to know that. So what boundaries are we not allowed to have as women? We're not allowed to be too emotional. We're not allowed to be too severe. We're either over emotional and sensitive, or frigid. So we're not allowed to be.
In a bitch.
Right, exactly.
Like,
We're not allowed to have sex, or we're we're not allowed to enjoy sex for sure. We're not allowed to be like embracing ourselves. There's very little actually that boundaries are allowed for women in general.
right.
That's
In
kind of true.
general. That's something we can definitely, that might be something we can go into next week as well. But I think it's a good idea that to remember as women, and I'm not, I'm just addressing the women in our audience, our vast audience. But yeah, as women, one way to learn to love yourself is to get rid of as much as possible, like really confront that idea that you're not allowed to have boundaries.
And I think it's super important that we once again confront it within ourselves, because
Right.
we've taken it on. It's the internal misogyny.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
and at the same, I have actually a handful of guys in my as I coach them, teaching them to embrace their own softness, their own femininity, their own solid masculinity means surrendered, as the surrendered male as well, right? So it's like guys are just as fucked up. Actually, guy, I feel bad when I actually kind of feel bad for guys because they're even more fucked up. Like
They're messed up. Yeah.
they're not
They have
allowed to
different.
have emotions. They're not allowed to have sensitivity. They're not allowed to have any kind of physical contact with anybody that's not their wife or their mother. Like, like,
Yeah. No, it's so true. I think that is overlooked a lot of times. I mean, because with women, it's kind of new, and in the sense of like letting women be people. Um,
yep,
and we're focused on that because it's so overt for
right.
us. Like it's like we're property, great. We're not human, woo! But with men, yeah, you don't a lot of people don't recognize that
Yeah,
that they're not allowed to have emotions, like in
right,
this, at least this culture.
right.
I mean, there are other cultures where they're allowed to be really angry.
Angry, but they're still not allowed to be like, I mean, boys don't cry. I mean, how many we've heard
Right.
that thought like
Yeah.
right, like man
Yeah.
up,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Man up. Grow some balls.
Yeah, cry like a girl or play like a girl. That's some of the
Yeah.
worst
Or
insults
throw
you can,
like a girl.
right? Some of the worst insults you can, and that's across culture, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. So
Yes.
guys aren't allowed to be sensitive and emotional and have feelings or anything.
Right. So they
So
have too
yeah,
many boundaries.
exactly. And we don't have enough, and it's completely off balance.
Completely off balance.
Yeah,
And that's one of the things that's happening now, hopefully, is that we're starting to balance the divine masculine, divine feminine.
absolutely. Yes. And we've
Back to
talked
the
about that.
yes, back to the boundary stuff. So women as a way of self-love, confronting within yourself the idea that you can't have boundaries, and the guilt feelings that we get when we
Yes.
do assert boundaries, like I'm doing something wrong, and you know what I mean, like I'm a bad woman,
Yeah.
like it's bad. But
Yeah.
then also looking for men on the other side, looking within yourself and realizing I've got too many boundaries here, and it doesn't make a difference in my masculinity if I cry, or if
Right.
or if
Right.
I like pink. You know,
Right. Or
whatever boundaries are in there.
whatever it is. Yes. Yes. Whatever the boundary is, whatever it's like, it's important like that, whatever's not allowed, ask, is that really true? Or is it some construct that society has created?
Right.
Right?
Is it
And
true?
is it true? Where would you be without this belief? Like, is it true?
Yes. Anything I think is always true, Robin.
Of course, yes, yes. Jen is the exception to the rule, and
100%
also
across the board. Yes, and also everybody else, what you think is not necessarily true.
well, yeah, exactly. For everybody else, that's true, but for you and I,
Uh,
our thoughts are 100% true.
100% true. When they're true, when they're actually true and based in realities, Robin, they're totally 100% true.
Right, right. Except that they're not. Even when it's 100% based in reality.
Except that, yeah, it's all filtered through your own little lens.
Precisely. Precisely. Nothing is ever 100%. Well, there's a couple things that are 100%. Joy, love, peace, the divine universe. Those are all 100% true.
Yes. The good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not. So yeah, so as a woman, for me, boundaries would be not giving everybody access, no matter, like, even if they're sad.
Yes.
Like, I don't have to fix it.
Yep.
I don't have to be there to make, like, to whatever, give ice cream or whatever. I'll give them ice cream. Like, let's be honest.
I mean, honestly, ice cream makes my socks today say ice cream makes everything better. Like, there's just some truths.
Totally does. There's
right.
100%. We're just saying 100% true. That is exactly. The truth. That's making me want ice cream. But when don't I want ice cream?
Exactly. It's like I have ice cream every day.
I usually do too. I've been trying to cut back. I had popcorn yesterday instead. Anyway, so but with men, then how can they deconstruct their boundaries? What does that look like?
Well, I think first of all, it's there's a whole bunch of guys I follow, like on Facebook and stuff, that do really cool stuff. But for guys, it's about, first of all, acknowledging that you have, it's acknowledging feelings. It's acknowledging that, whatever comes out. Like, a lot of times what I would sit with my clients about is like, what do you feel right now? And he'd be like, I don't, and he'd tell me like a thought that he had in his head. And I had to sort of like bring him back to, but what do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was a constant redirecting to, what do you feel?
Right.
And there was, so it took a long time to even get him to acknowledge there was feelings, or I could say something just shifted. Can you feel that? What changed? And he would be like, yes, I noticed this. So it was like there was a lot of physical stuff that we had to do with him to just get him to feel his feelings, right? And it's not going to look the same. I mean, as women, we need to stop expecting men to emote the same way that we do, and to speak the same way that we do, and have access to the same language that we do. That's our job as women. We need to stop expecting men to be women. Period.
Good point. Good point. Well, not to be fair, but an interesting thing is that since we are the only ones allowed to have emotions, that's how we think having emotions looks like. Right. Because we don't have a model of men feeling emotions, how they do it.
Right. And that's part of the problem, is they don't have a model for it either.
Right.
So it starts with acknowledging that they have feelings for men. And it also, right next to it, is that allowing vulnerability. So our job, especially as women, again, we're amazing at holding space and making safe space. That's our job. We're going to heal the wounded masculine by making it safe for them to be vulnerable. most of the time, it's not safe for them to be vulnerable.
Right.
It's not.
Really, yeah, no, it's really not safe for
Right.
them to be vulnerable.
So that's where, so creating safe spaces where they can be vulnerable, which is why I think there's so many men who are doing men's work that's really, really impactful. I got recently guided that I was supposed to do a men's group, and I was like, I can't do that by myself because they're not going to be vulnerable. They're not, I can't create a safe space by myself. Right. So I need to find like a partner a male partner who I could teach that with. But it really is about allowing vulnerability for that, for men. And
Right.
for women, it's about keeping our energy in us. You don't have your fingers in everybody else's energy, Jennifer Sullivan. And also, not everybody gets access to it.
That's it's fingers in other person, and also sending out your energy to
Absolutely.
a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Anytime you are called to leap and rescue, anytime you leap out into their shit, you are not home in yours.
Right. So how does one help without crossing their own boundaries?
Don't.
Robin? What you talk about, Robin?
Jen, I am a professional helper. Like,
Yes,
I literally
I
have
know.
advanced degrees in it. Yes.
Yes.
And there are like, like my whatever she is to me, I still have to stop myself from saying, do you want help with that? Until she asks me. But it is a struggle. Like, my immediate response is, what can I do? How can I support you? That's just right.
Yeah.
And if they don't ask me, I don't offer. Maybe I offer, but I don't actually do anything until I'm asked. So that looks like if I want to help, something in me is activated. So that's an invitation for me to be like, oh, okay, I see you. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. That is an immediate invitation for me to sit with whatever part of me is activated. Because if I'm helping, I'm saying it energetically and emotionally and physically and everything, saying to them, you aren't as good. It's a huge boundary violation.
It's like I'm gonna sit with that.
But that's true. Helping someone means they can't do it themselves.
I see that. It's just not the way I've thought about it before. I mean, I've heard that before, but it's just when you're doing it, you're like, but I'm helping.
Right, because it makes you feel good.
They're horrible. They're sad, and yeah, okay, it makes me feel good. That's true. I hate that I love helping people.
Trust me, I get it. I am a team player, right?
Yeah,
like my primary energy is charismatic leader, but my secondary energy is team player. I am here to be of service, literally, in the world, right? Yeah. This is that was my hardest school. Boundary school was challenging, but the not helping piece was excruciating.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm like you said, I'm in boundary school too. And that is something that part of it I'm learning, but it is especially, I mean, I think as women and as people whose nature is to help, that's a tough one.
When I read something, I don't know when I read it, it hit though, that the people who rescue are the ones who need to be rescued the most.
All right. I mean,
so
you want to put it that way.
So every time we're called to rescue, and I mean, I have a superhero archetype, right? Like I have run into, I save people's lives, right? Like I have a superhero archetype. And if I'm called to rescue, it's in me. That's mine to heal. Right. So it's an invitation in me to rescue myself.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it is that something was activated. Like you say activated, it hit something in
Yep.
you.
Yes.
And that you've got to take a look at now.
Yep. It's yours.
Yes, not theirs.
Nope.
So if you're going to rescue someone, rescue yourself, which is sort of something like when I first decided to marry myself.
Yes.
But I still think I get a kick out of it. When I decided that, it was exciting because on the one hand, I had someone like I just had this love that isn't going anywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? And finally I had a place to direct it. Right. It's like, oh, it feels good. But on the other hand, I still have difficulties receiving. So that's an interesting, so rather than directing that energy out to like anything, like please dear God, give me something to love, find me somebody to love. So so you want to bring that back in. So I'm just kind of trying to put it in a different way to kind of tumble it around. Right. So that's a way of really loving yourself, is to this is just another way with boundaries to love yourself. You don't go into their energy. You don't take on their energy. If something strikes you, you go in with compassion and see what it is that got hit. And then you rescue yourself. You love yourself rather than going outwards with that. You turn it inwards. That's a good thing to turn inwards.
Right. Right.
As opposed to anger.
Well, exactly. Which then becomes depression.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's, again, this is not easy stuff. This is not easy, and it's a lifelong process. Like I said, I still have to like Patty's like you need to be like, she says to me, I'll ask you for help when I need it. And like right? Like there's I get it. And so it's like it's really powerful because I've learned how to keep myself contained by being so intimately connected with this person, right? So it's like and it's not physical, right? It's a soulmate relationship, right? But like there's so much love between us that I've learned how to tame that rescuer by being in a relationship with her. So I've got 2 minutes. So as an archetype, like a damsel. Yeah.
As someone who has that, who wants to be rescued, who wants the help, come save me on your stallion and we'll gallop
right off into the sunset.
I think that makes it, I'm not sure what the words are here, but you see what I'm getting at.
I do. So the thing about the damsel is that, and this is another conversation for a bigger conversation for another day, but the damsel actually has the power to rescue herself. She has the infinite power to rescue herself, and in fact is often the leader, right? But that she just hasn't accessed it. She doesn't know that she has that power. So damsel in the shadow is weak and helpless, but also is leaping to save. Damsel in her power, though, damsel in the high side of the damsel is 100% solidly knowing that I can take on anything. And also there is still that aspect that like she likes to be cared for. She likes to have romance. Is she perfectly capable of rescuing herself? Yes. And does she on like think about, so do you remember the movie Shrek?
Yes, of course I do. Please.
So Fiona is a classic damsel. There was no point in time that she couldn't have rescued herself from that tower.
Right.
However, she needed to wait for someone to rescue her. And then when they do rescue her, she's like, this isn't at all what I planned. And then she takes on a band of merry men and takes them all out. But goes right back to being this like helpless, meek, shy, whatever, right? She is a true damsel. Fiona
is,
and Shrek
yeah,
is a true damsel, and if you look, she's the one in charge that whole time.
the whole time. Yeah, the whole time. But
Yep.
she's still a damsel. That's really interesting.
Yep. And she
Well,
still
she's in
wants to
charge
be.
because she's like, I know how things are gonna should be, and I'm going to make them that way.
No, she's in charge because she has power. She's in
Well,
charge
yeah,
because she has power, and they respect her when she stands in her power. Shrek and Donkey are like,
yeah,
they're
that's
like,
true.
she's
Yeah,
fucking
When she-
amazing.
I know, and she totally takes down the whole Merry Men thing. Yeah, it's pretty
Or
funny.
even when she like lights a fire, like she does so much in that first movie to
Yeah,
move them forward.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she hasn't claimed her own power yet, which is why she's still stuck in the shadow of the damsel. But she has so much power in that.
Well, I feel like she claims her power when she accepts that she's a
She finally does. At the end of the movie, she
at the end of
finally
the movie
does.
where she's like, all right, this is what
This is
I
who I
am.
am. Right.
I can go be happy now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally good. Anyway.
All right, you gotta go. And this has been, and it's good that we have to keep it to an hour because we could go off for a while. All right. So thank you very much, Robin.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. I am glad too. And thank you everybody else out there in Candyland. We have been Untethered Talk with Robin Thomas at 2 o'clock. Now it's 3, so it's time to go.